Hello viewers, today we're going to dig into a timing chain issue on this 2011 Malibu with 98,000 miles. But first let's talk about the symptoms that you're going to see in a car like this that are telltale signs that you might need to have timing chains done on your Malibu. General Motors had a lot of problems with their timing chains on the 2.4 liter EcoTec engines in their Malibus and the Equinox. This one in particular started idling rough, had a rattling noise coming from the engine. Pull up the codes here. As you can see, we've got a lean code, we've got correlation codes, we've got a mass airflow sensor code. Generally what this means, if you've got experience with GM, is you've probably got broken timing chain components in the engine. And this is a complicated job. It requires special tools. You've got to have the right equipment. Usually having a lift is going to be a big help. What I'm going to do in this video, I'm actually going to drop the engine and transmission on the subframe, or the cradle as some people call it, out of the vehicle. Now, while it's not 100% necessary to drop everything out of the vehicle like I'm going to be doing, it does make it much easier to work on once you've got it all out. There's a little bit more labor involved with dropping the subframe along with the engine and transmission out of the vehicle. But since my lift only goes up about 48 inches, and for the purpose of making a better video so you guys can clearly see what's going on here, I'm going to be dropping everything out just so you can really see what's going on here and get an idea of what you're getting into should you go to do this work on your car. But before we go to all this work of taking the timing chains off the vehicle and replacing them and buying the parts and everything, we want to make sure that this is the actual problem. So I'll show you how you can verify this problem in about 5 minutes or less if you have the right tools. It's actually quite simple. You just take the valve cover off. It's really simple. All you have to do is remove the plastic beauty cover from the engine, take the ignition coils out, take the two intake and exhaust cam phaser solenoid valves out, and remove the valve cover. It's just a bunch of 10 and 8 millimeter bolts that you can take off using a little mini impact like I did here, and you can get down to the camshafts and the timing chain sprockets in no time. Now here is our first telltale sign that something is definitely wrong with the timing components. Look at all this play in the chain. That should not be there at all. Something is broke, something is worn, something's not right. This should be tight. This chain should have tension on it, and it should be riding up against this little guide here. It should not be loose. Now, if you look back at the codes we had stored in the module, 2 of them were correlation codes. What correlation means is, are these camshafts lining up with the crankshaft properly? The engine control module, or the engine's computer, checks to make sure that these camshafts and the crankshaft are aligned properly. If it sees that these camshafts or the crankshaft is out of alignment more than a certain amount, it sets those codes. And see all this play in the timing chains? That's what is causing those codes to set. But it doesn't end there. You can look down behind the timing cover now that you've got the valve cover off, and look around in there, see if you see any broken parts, anything that's hanging loose. And then oh, look at that. Would that be a broken timing chain guide? I'm going to use a set of mechanical fingers here to try to get this broken piece out without pushing it into the pushing it down and into the oil pan. It might be kind of, well, I got it loose and it fell down further. Kind of what I didn't want to have happen. And there you have it, folks. There's our problem. You can see where its weak point is. See how it's round there? That's actually where one of the timing chain guide bolts holds this guide to the side of the engine. And it broke right at that point right there. It's right where it fractured. So the other piece is probably down in there somewhere still. I can't see it from this angle. This is an oh so common issue. I've seen a lot of these. This is a very common issue on these engines. It's just a poor design, lack of oil changes. As you can see here, this engine is not the cleanest, so they probably put off their oil changes at times, and that only makes the problem even worse. But our diagnosis was correct. The vehicle needs timing chains and guides. That is how you diagnose your Malibu to see if you have bad timing chains.